But has there been an independent professional evaluation of the program? Yes, there has, required by Congress. The person chosen to carry out that program is a man named Patrick Wolf, Dr. Patrick Wolf, the principal investigator of the evaluation conducted by the United States Department of Education's Institute of Education Sciences. This is a report required by Congress, carried out by an institute under the U.S. Department of Education. Dr. Patrick Wolf testified that the Opportunity Scholarship Program has had a statistically significant positive effect on the test scores of students in reading in this program. Now, I know some of the critics of the program, some of the opponents of the program have downplayed these results. However, the fact is, as I've learned, that most education innovation programs actually fail to show any significant gains, certainly in the first few years. Dr. Wolf has said that when compared to all other similarly studied education innovations throughout our country, we're not talking about the District of Columbia, compared to all other similarly studied education innovation programs throughout our country, Dr. Wolf has said, and I quote, "The reading impact of the DC voucher program is the largest achievement impact yet reported," end of quote. And he went on, this principal independent investigator, to say, quote, "The DC voucher program has proven to be the most effective education policy evaluated by the federal government's official research arm so far," end of quote. The most effective education policy evaluated by the federal government's official education research arm so far. So why stop it? Why terminate it? Certainly not based on this independent evaluation, certainly not based on the testimony that our committee and other committees have heard from the parents and students involved in this program. I leave to others, but I fear it's because of the opposition of teachers groups and others who don't want this kind of competition. In some, this study used the gold standard study of research methodology and found that the Opportunity Scholarship Program is getting very impressive results. Those who oppose OSP, Opportunity Scholarship Program, argue in part that vouchers take away funds from the public schools here in the district. This is simply false. This program, when it was adopted in Congress, to overcome the argument that it would take money away from the public schools, did exactly the opposite. We reached an agreement to get the votes to pass the program, that whatever amount of money was given for the Opportunity Scholarship Program, the so-called voucher program in the District of Columbia, exactly that amount of money would be added, not subtracted, added to the public school budget of the District of Columbia. They otherwise would not have received that money for the public schools, and incidentally, a similar amount was appropriated for charter schools in Washington. So why? Because there's no one answer at this moment to the challenge to give every child endowed by our Creator, as the Declaration of Independence says, with the equal right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which in our time is very, very much equated with the right to an equal education. The fact is that we were prepared, previous Congresses have been prepared to support all three of these ways because they were focused not on a single method of educating our children, but on benefiting each and every one of our children. I know that some say that these scholarships are not the solution to the problems that beset the DC public schools. I agree. They are not the solution, but they can and should be part of the solution. Certainly, while the reform efforts of the Chancellor, Michelle Rhee, are going forward, and until they reach a turning point, a tipping point, where the schools really have been broadly improved. I strongly support Chancellor Rhee's efforts to reform and improve the public schools in the district. I strongly support efforts across the nation to improve our public schools. That's always where we will educate most of our children. That's always where we should put the greatest emphasis. Chancellor Rhee, with the backing of Mayor Fenty, has moved aggressively to turn around failing schools in the district. She is getting results, and she has certainly my full backing when it comes to the reforms she is working to implement. But Chancellor Rhee has said something so honest, so, in my opinion, so compassionate, so fair, so focused on the well-being of the children in Washington, D.C., that to me it should end any argument against the amendment that we are proposing. She has said herself, Chancellor Rhee, that her reform effort in the D.C. public schools is making progress, but it's not going to happen overnight. As one of the students I just quoted said before our committee, the D.C. public schools didn't get to the troubles they're in overnight, and they're not going to get out of the troubles they're in overnight. But Chancellor Rhee has said this is a multi-year process. In the meantime, many district schools are failing our most challenged, economically challenged children. For this reason, Chancellor Michelle Rhee, the head of the public schools in the district, has said the OSP program should continue. I ask my colleagues, why wouldn't we want to use every means at our disposal to provide the best education possible to all children here in Washington, D.C.? Chancellor Rhee has been very explicit about this. She said that it may take 5 years to turn around many of the schools that are failing, officially failing, to give a decent education to the students in the District of Columbia. She said in a very personal and moving way, until she could say to parents who are in schools now designated as failing that they were no longer failing, and the parents could be confident that their children will receive a good education in those schools, she would support the Opportunity Scholarship Program. 5 years. And based on that assessment, our amendment reauthorizes the OSP program for 5 years. Our amendment also continues to ask for a rigorous evaluation of the merits of the program. At the end of the 5 years, we will have better information on both the effectiveness of this scholarship voucher model and the reform effort in the D.C. public schools. I want to suggest to my colleagues at the end of this 5-year period, we can determine whether we want to continue to provide federal support for these opportunity scholarship school choice programs based on conditions at that time. Our authorization proposal includes a number of improvements and enhancements to the program, including many sought by my friend and colleague, Senator Durbin, chairman of the Appropriations Subcommittee, that has in previous years funded the Opportunity Scholarship Program. Specifically, we require that all occupancy, that course subject matter teachers have appropriate credentials, that schools meet the accrediting standards of the D.C. public schools, that regular site inspections be conducted, and that participating students take the same test as students in District of Columbia public schools.